LSU has been just an insane team to watch this year. What do you have to say to the home folks who have been holding on for dear life?
I think you could say insane, or you could just say exciting. Either way, whether you're rooting for them or you're rooting against them, they're an exciting team. I mean, this is a team that should be undefeated, but they could also easily have 2 losses right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that they need to get figured out, and I think it starts up front with the offensive line. You got so many playmakers. Nussmeier is an elite quarterback, but you also got to be able to give him time. And if they want to be able to make a stretch with the meat of their schedule, they got to be able to figure out how to protect him, how to get a running game going, because you're not going to be able to have comebacks like that against really good teams in the SEC.
Yeah, for me, I like this LSU team throwing the football a lot more. I think that's who they need to be offensively. They need to just lean on Garrett Nussmeier. He's that good. He's taking care of the football good enough. He's completing the passes at a high rate. Just throw the football and just be that type of team. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
But do you think you can protect them well enough to be able to do that over and over again with no running game? I mean, South Carolina's front four had their way. They're a very good front four.
They're better than most.
Yes,
I don't think every team is going to be able to put as much pressure as South Carolina did by just rushing 4. I think when you try and blitz LSU, I think that's when Garrett can really take advantage of that. And let's really be honest, Tim. It comes down to the defense of LSU, who still has not figured out themselves. They want to be better. I think this is a good week to get some confidence going versus a UCLA team that's really struggling offensively.
And Roman, not to scream too loudly here, but why is it continuing to be the defensive side of the ball? I mean, I thought that got cleaned up last year at the end of the season.
No, look, just because you bring in a different defensive coordinator doesn't mean all your problems are fixed now. You still got the same boat. Doesn't mean you change captains. Everything's good now. No. You still got some lack of deficiency in players in the secondary. They need to make some more plays on one-on-one situations. As a defensive back, if you don't make the play, they make it and they're going to keep throwing it. If you just knock one down, they're going to stop throwing it as much. So they need to knock more passes down so then you're not encouraging more people to continue to throw the football on you.
But the good thing for LSU and LSU fans that are here is their ceiling is extremely high. But there's a lot of things that have to get figured out. I think it's offense and defense line, the physicality, rushing the quarterback, being able to tackle in space. But there's still so many playmakers. And when you have the weapons that they do at receiver and a quarterback like Garrett Nussmeier, you always are going to have a chance in every game. The problem is when you get into the meat of the schedule, consistency every single week, not just showing up for 2 drives, 3 drives, but showing up for 4 quarters. And they're very fortunate right now. They don't have 2 L's.
Yeah, they really are. And quite frankly, I thought they had a better shot at winning the Southern Cal game than they did last week. I mean, let's be honest. They were lucky to get out of South Carolina live. Anybody agree with me on that? I think they do. Unlike some fans, Roman, LSU fans are real. I mean, they know when they.
Wait. What's this turning against Roman? What did Roman ever do to you?
Well, Roman went to a school that doesn't always look at things objectively like LSU fans.
Oh, and you're saying you always look at it objectively.
Oh, I didn't say I did. I just said Roman fans. So Tim,
wait a second. You claim Bama, but you went to Tennessee.
Well, Tim.
See how I just got to get Roman's back for a second.
I mean, let me explain that. I mean, I'm proud of my degree from the University of Tennessee, but I didn't have any other options. I mean, we were poor.
But Bama pays the bills.
We were poor folks. I went to Bama. Things changed. I mean, LSU does have some weapons, and they've lost a few, unfortunately. But Durham at running back has been a nice surprise.
There's no doubt. They have the weapons, and you see them step up. Even though they're young, it's exciting to watch. But you think, wow, if they put it all together, what they could be. And that's what I think sometimes hurts LSU is they have so much talent, so many players that are gifted. But you got to put that together. It's not about how many players could do it, how many players are doing it, showing up on the same side of the ball. All right, we know our plan. We're efficient with our plan. And I think sometimes the potential gets in the way of the execution in the now.
Yeah, Tim, and I would like to know from you, too, after I make this point, is our opinions about LSU different because of the expectations we had going into the season? We were told they had the best offensive line in the country. And we believed it. And we were told that how much they were going to run the football. They were going to be this type of brand of football, this type of team. And because they're not that,
I think when
we have these expectations,
Roman,
we end up disappointed.
You're one of the experts. Who told you?
Yeah, I didn't listen to it. I don't listen to a lot of the other experts.
I think a little bit, but I think for me is when you see them do it right against South Carolina, against USC, well, both USCs, you see what they could be, and you think, man, if you could just be consistent, what this team has the possibility of becoming is elite. It's just not carried through for 4 quarters. It's not carried through from drive to drive.
That's very true, and that's where they really struggle at, the consistency, and then when you struggle offensively, defensively, you got to be able to get that team's back. And they haven't been able to do that. They had a great chance versus Southern Cal to really put a stamp on it and say we're a different type of defense. And then they allowed them to go down there and score at the end of the game.
You look on both sides, they had a chance to put the game away.
Yeah,
they had an offensive drive to put the game away and win it. Then they had a shot on defense to put the game away and didn't win it. So you're really looking for kind of those go-to guys on both sides. When it's on the line, this is who we're going to stand on.
And then also, versus South Carolina, you got a chance to go down there and really seal it, and you mess up and throw the interception, and luckily the flag came and kind of got you out of that.
Change.
But the South Carolina fans are still grumbling about the officials. And by the way, apparently those officials are staying with Brian Kelly this weekend. I just saw them. That was a joke.
That won't make them happier.
That was a joke. So let's talk about some other schools before we get back to LSU. And don't despair. There's plenty of LSU conversation. But Tim, yet another legend was born last week. I think it was against USTA, Arch Manning. We love these young players. I already gave him a Heisman. I don't know about you, but why wait?
I actually think that he has better odds to win the Heisman I saw than Quinn.
There's no way.
No, in Vegas right now.
It's crazy.
It is. And listen, I think the kid is doing a great job. I love the way he's carried himself, just with so much poise, the confidence, just not making it about him, making it about the school, his teammates. You have to be so impressed with what he did, but I also think it's important to be very clear that Quinn is one of the best players in the country, and it is his team this year. Now, do they have the best quarterback room in the country? Probably. Is he one of the best backups in the country? No doubt. Could he be starting on a lot of teams? Absolutely. But Quinn is going to be a first-round draft pick. He's got a chance to lead this team. They're number 1 in the country because they have a lot of depth, but also because Quinn Ewers is a stud.
Roman, you played a long time in New Orleans. The Mannings are from New Orleans, which is just right down the road. How did he bypass this campus on the way to Austin?
Clearly, he wanted a different offense to play under. That's what it really came down to.
And in fairness, this program wasn't here at the time.
And I would honestly be real about it. If you look at what Archie Manning, the grandfather of the whole situation, and what he's been able to do is that every single one of his sons and now his grandson made the decision of what school they went to based upon the quarterback coaching that he was going to receive.
It's a smart decision, too.
They based it upon that. They're always looking down the road. It's not about the now. That's why I give Arch a lot of credit.
It's a great point.
Yeah,
because it's a great point.
He's humble about it. You heard Sarkisian talk about it. He's not trying to be a me guy. He's a younger player really enjoying being a young player on a team without the pressure.
And learning. And let's be honest, Steve Sarkisian is to college football what Shanahan is to the NFL right now. What he's doing with his scheme, with designing it, it's all.
That might be the first time I ever heard. Well, no, not the first time you've been booed, Tim. You've been booed.
Tim has been booed in Baton Rouge before.
Yeah, I was going to say Tim's been booed.
Most of the time, it's not boo. It's a lot of other words that they say here. Yeah.
You guys are too young to remember. Tim did the cell phone routine down here one year, didn't you?
Something like that.
Because guys old enough to almost be your father harassed him all night. But enough of that. There's a okay, you can come up here for the next segment. But the second, there's a game next week that everybody's already talking about. I don't know why people look ahead because there's some outstanding games this week, right? But your early thoughts on next week in Tuscaloosa.
Well, it's obviously exciting. Blue Bloods, powerhouses. I think a lot of people are going to make too much of the Kentucky game.
Right.
Kentucky and Georgia have had so many battles over the years that I think you got to look at it as they did what they needed to do and they got out of there with a W, and don't make too much of it. These are 18 to 22-year-olds, and sometimes they're going to have off nights, but also give Kentucky a lot of credit.
Yes.
They bounced back, played a very physical, tough game, protected the football, but Georgia was still the better team. And I think, when we get into that game next week, it's going to be fun to evaluate all the different matchups, but this Georgia team is still for real.
Yeah, Georgia is a 2.5-point favorite going into it so far, but we'll see.
And the FBI right now, they have Alabama.
Those things are really
Who
weird.
you guys like, Alabama?
I actually think they love both of the teams.
I don't think you folks like anybody else other than LSU, do you?
Paul, I will say this. I'm looking forward to it because Alabama seems to – with Caden Proctor, the offensive line looking healthy. They can't get hurt, though. They look much better. I love the way Georgia plays defense. They're physical. They're tough. They play hard. I love when you're super talented and you still play hard. Like, that matters.
They carry that edge.
Yeah, they have an edge to them, and that matters. The only concern I have for Georgia is offensively, the lack of explosion, the lack of big plays that they have. And sometimes you can't just go through games methodical and always get that win. Kentucky – I thought they should have went for it on 4th and 8, but hey, it's whatever.
What did you see from Carson last week? Because a lot of people were really uncomfortable with his performance.
I think people are making a lot of it. Carson back. Is there some plays that he probably wants back? Sure. But also, they didn't start out being able to establish the running game. Kentucky did a really good job in getting them in 2nd, 3rd, and long. They didn't have a lot of drives. Kentucky controlled the time of possession. So it was a very short game.
And I would say this one more thing. Kentucky had Georgia's number. You look at all the routes, they had them all covered. Kentucky flew around early and really got Georgia off kilter, and Georgia really struggled to bounce back. That can't happen next week at Alabama.
And in fairness,
you will lose that game.
Yeah, and Georgia's got to figure out some of their go-to guys.
Yes, that's true.
You know, whether that's tight end, halfback, it's in the receiver position. They have really talented guys, but they're kind of figuring out, okay, we lost some of our go-to guys on 3rd and long. We lost Ladd. We lost Brock. We don't have the same depth there. Who is our go-to guy on 3rd and long that's going to really win?
True.
Okay, the segment is done. Tim Tebow.
Who dat?
And Roman played for the Saints. You guys remember that?
They weren't born, Paul.
Didn't you win a Super Bowl for the Saints?
I did.
He's a Super Bowl winner for the Saints. How many people can say that? One?